The 3 ultimate keys to starting from zero. Welcome back to Wealth Alchemy. Let me ask you a simple question. If you had to choose, would you rather have a job or have no job at all? Now, that might sound strange, but here's the twist. Sometimes having no job is actually the real career. Most people instinctively pick having a job because it feels safe. But if you look closely at the world, you'll see that many people work their whole lives, make money, but never truly have the time to enjoy it. Meanwhile, a small group of people don't have jobs in the traditional sense, like billionaire Li Ka-shing after retirement, or my personal role model, Robert Kiyosaki from Rich Dad Poor Dad. It's not that they're lazy, it's because they've found ways to avoid trading time for money. Their secret? Letting countless other people work for them, while they collect passive income. When you've built that kind of system, you can choose to fully retire or even work for fun whenever you feel like it. The truth is, all of us will stop working one day because we have to. Imagine you work until 60 and you live to 100. That's 40 years of life without a paycheck, relying entirely on whatever you saved or invested. At that point, financial advisors will tell you to invest in various products to prepare for retirement. Sounds reasonable. But here's the real question. If you start early, will it really be enough to live well for decades without working? Think about this. 20 years ago, maybe you bought an education fund for your kids. They promised an 8% annual return with inflation at 4%. On paper, that beats inflation. But in reality, tuition fees in the U.S. have gone up over 200% in the last 20 years. Inflation eats away far faster than those neat official numbers suggest. That's why I only invest in things that both appreciate in value and generate stable cash flow. For me, that's real estate. Now, if you had to choose again, which way would you go? When your goal is crystal clear, the results are often already decided. I've always asked myself, how do I make it so I never have to work again? While most people are afraid of losing their jobs. Unemployed doesn't have to be a negative word. In another light, it's called financial freedom. Likewise, starting from nothing doesn't have to sound hopeless. It's simply the beginning. Today, I'm not just going to show you how to build wealth from zero, I'm also going to help you develop the mindset of a real entrepreneur. If you stick with me until the end, you'll see that as long as there are people working for you, having a career is no longer the goal. Freedom is. A lot of people think Rich Dad Poor Dad is just a fantasy, but for me, it was the wake-up call that took me from being an employee to becoming an entrepreneur. Before we dive in, make sure you hit that like button and save this video. Here on Wealth Alchemy, we focus on wealth-building mindsets for entrepreneurs, investors, and people who aim to live financially free lives. Even if you're an employee right now, you have to start seeing yourself as an entrepreneur, the owner of your own business. Back when I was still in school, I interned at an insurance company. One conversation there completely changed how I viewed work. Normally, if you work for a company, you probably think of yourself as an employee, right? That's what I thought too. But my manager told me something I'll never forget. When you work in insurance, you're running your own business. You're not just an employee. You're the CEO of You Inc. You're simply partnering with our company to distribute our products. At first, I thought it was just a motivational speech, maybe even a way to keep me working for them. But that seed took root in my mind. From that moment on, whenever I applied for jobs, I saw myself not as someone trying to get hired, but as a business owner offering my services to a potential client. That shift in mindset changed everything. While I was still in college, I received multiple great job offers simply because interviewers could sense I saw myself differently. And while I was still a student, I went ahead and registered my own company. I started in retail, then expanded to wholesale, and made my first real capital. Looking back, that one mindset change from employee to owner was the turning point. Here's the funny thing. Some of my college friends thought I'd been brainwashed by the idea. But years later, many of them are still working long hours for modest salaries, while I had already begun building my own income streams. Now, think about industries like real estate or insurance. Why is it that some agents, starting from scratch, can build a team and earn six figures or more a year, while others quit after a few months and run back to a desk job? Is that luck? No, it's mindset and positioning. I've asked countless successful entrepreneurs about their early days. Almost all of them told me they never saw themselves as working for someone else. Even before they had employees, they thought and acted like owners. This mindset isn't just mental fluff, it has real financial benefits. For example, when you own a business, you get to spend before taxes. That means you can deduct legitimate expenses before calculating what you owe. Employees, they get taxed first and spend what's left. So whether in your thinking or your actions, positioning yourself as the boss changes the game. And here's the kicker. The moment you start working for yourself, you've already crossed the line from employee to entrepreneur. That's why many freelancers earn far more than salaried workers. They work for themselves, not for a boss. But here's the next challenge: building a business that runs without you. Because if you're still the one doing all the work, you've just built yourself another job. The whole point of a business is for it to make money without you having to be there every second. The real goal isn't working harder, it's creating systems so the business can run on autopilot. Think about McDonald's. Have you ever studied how that company operates? It started with two brothers running a small hamburger stand. One handled the cooking, the other handled the cash register. They were doing well because they'd streamlined the process. Customers could get a burger in 1 minute without leaving their cars. They'd essentially invented the fast food model. But here's where it gets interesting. Along came Ray Kroc, a struggling salesman who saw their system and immediately recognized its potential. He offered them a deal. Let me take over operations. You can relax, collect a monthly income, and I'll make sure it's even more than you're earning now. The brothers agreed. Ray Kroc then broke down the entire operation into simple, repeatable steps. He hired staff, trained them on each specific task, and built a system that didn't depend on him or the original owners. Production time dropped from 1 minute per burger to just 10 seconds, and profits soared. But Ray didn't stop there. His real business wasn't flipping burgers, it was selling the system. He offered other restaurant owners a chance to buy a McDonald's franchise, promising them the same streamlined operation, staff training, and supply chain support. All they had to do was pay a franchise fee and follow the system. Many owners agreed because they knew if they didn't adapt, McDonald's would outcompete them. That's how McDonald's expanded worldwide, not because the burgers were amazing, but because the system was unstoppable. The takeaway here is huge. If you can convince established businesses to adopt your system, you can grow without doing all the work yourself. You don't have to own every location. You just own the blueprint. And here's another lesson. Chasing big profit businesses that require huge startup costs can be a trap. Restaurants look profitable, but the costs and risks are massive. One economic downturn or pandemic, and they can disappear overnight. Today, we live in the era of light assets. Thanks to the internet, you can start projects with almost zero upfront cost. That's why so many billionaires today are getting younger and younger. They understand technology. Any business you can run online has the potential to scale fast, with low expenses and high margins. Every dollar you earn is mostly profit, and it flows directly to you. And when your mindset is in the right place, you stop obsessing over methods and start looking for the thinking behind them. People who constantly hunt for shortcuts and formulas never become masters. True mastery comes from understanding the principles that make those methods work.
Which brings us to the 3 essential elements you need to build an automated business: mission, team, and leadership. The first is mission. Every great company has a mission, a clear purpose that defines why it exists. Your mission is your positioning. It's what attracts the right people, whether they're customers or employees. Bill Gates had a mission when he started Microsoft, a computer on every desk in every home. That vision attracted the best talent in the software world and made Microsoft the dominant player in operating systems. Jack Ma had a mission when he started Alibaba, to make it easy to do business anywhere. At the time, people thought it was crazy, but that mission inspired 18 partners to build one of the biggest e-commerce platforms in the world. History shows us the same pattern. Liu Bang, who rose from a humble background to found the Han Dynasty in ancient China, rallied talented people by declaring his mission to restore and unite the empire. In business, a strong mission makes obstacles seem smaller. Without it, you'll give up when things get tough.
The second essential element is team. I used to play basketball, and in the beginning, I hated passing the ball. I thought scoring as many points as possible was the way to win. And sure, I scored plenty, but my team still lost. It wasn't until I watched Kobe Bryant's transformation that I really understood teamwork. Early in his career, Kobe didn't pass much either, and it kept him from winning championships. But once his coach implemented the triangle offense, a system built on passing and coordination, Kobe began working with his teammates, and the championships followed. Business works the same way. Commerce, at its core, is a team sport. If you try to do everything yourself, you will eventually burn out. In fact, the education system often conditions us to work alone. Don't copy, don't cheat. So many people never develop the ability to truly collaborate. But in the business world, collaboration is not cheating. It's survival. That's why, even when I had very little money, I started building a team. And you don't need massive salaries to attract good people. Sometimes the best talent isn't motivated by a fixed paycheck at all. They're motivated by upside. If you offer someone $5,000 a month, they'll cap out at $5,000. But if you offer them 10% of the profits they generate, and they help you make $1 million, they walk away with $100,000. You might think that's too much to give away, but here's the truth. If you want to attract big money, you have to be willing to share big. Your team is the backbone of an automated business. Without a capable team, every problem, whether it's in finance, product, or sales, lands back on your desk. Many business owners get stuck in the trap of doing everything themselves. They're too busy putting out fires to think about the bigger picture: direction, growth, and strategy. Delegation isn't just about lightening your workload. It's about freeing your mind to focus on the things that move the business forward. And that leads to the third and final element: leadership. A lot of us were taught that telling people what to do is wrong. And yes, if you're just ordering people around from a position of power, it's not effective. But leadership today isn't about control. It's about influence. We live in a world where people have options. You can't simply throw money at someone and expect loyalty, especially not from top talent. Leadership means inspiring people, earning their respect, and giving them reasons to follow you beyond a paycheck. When I was in college, I intentionally sought out leadership roles in clubs and organizations, even when nobody else wanted the job. Why? because I knew I needed to practice leading people even if it was uncomfortable. At first, I was shy. I didn't like speaking up at group dinners, let alone directing others. But once I was in a leadership position, there was no turning back. I had to step up, make decisions, and get people to work together toward a common goal. I read everything I could about leadership, from Peter Drucker's management principles to Eastern classics like Zhuji Tongzhen, which is full of timeless strategies for leading people. And I learned something critical. To keep talented people working for you, you must use them well, keep their respect, and never let them surpass you in certain key areas. Leadership is about balance, inspiring without losing authority, guiding without micromanaging. So here's the big picture. If you want to move from working for someone else to having people work for you, you need a business that runs without your constant involvement. And to build that, you must have all three elements. Mission, a clear purpose that attracts both customers and talent. Team, the right people to handle the work so you don't have to. Leadership, the ability to inspire, direct, and retain those people. When these three are in place, you can create a business that works for you, not the other way around. That's the foundation of financial freedom. Here on Wealth Alchemy, I share practical strategies, proven mindsets, and real-world examples to help you become wealthy, entrepreneurial, and financially independent. So if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and share this video with someone who needs to hear it. And if even one or two ideas from today's video help you move forward in your journey, then I've done my job. Here's to your freedom.